Hi, this is on imagination. I'm still processing everything from earlier, and there is a life journey that everything is on. It is a very predictable 4-stage pattern that everything in life follows no matter what. And the 4-stage pattern is composed of steps within those patterns. And those steps is referred to as a sequence. When you disrupt the sequence, that is when you get mental illness, disease, and death. The stages of disruption, of the obstruction, are confusion, and then you get amnesia, you get mental illness. And when you reach amnesia, the amnesia continues to worsen. The mental illness becomes a physical disease, and then you die. This process is a mental apoptosis of the life journey. And almost everybody on the planet has it to some degree. The majority of people are between mental illness and disease. But almost everybody has officially reached the point of mental illness. There is one particular stage of mental illness where you have mental illness, but it does not look or you cannot see your own mental illness. There is a blind spot where you are mentally ill, but you won't think you are. And when you are at the blind spot, that is actually the point prior to most severity of mental illness. The blind spot is always precedes the worst case of mental illness. So if you don't think you have a mental illness, you either really truly don't, or you're in the blind spot. And once the blind spot ends, it is because you finally have reached a point where you are so mentally ill that you are borderline on the disease stage. The amnesia continues to worsen and goes through stages of deterioration. This is called resource partitioning in biology. And it is 100% due to the loss of sequencing in your comprehension. It is all from loss of sequencing. When you lose your sequencing, the confusion begins, and that's when comprehension is lost. To restore it, you require logic, you require knowledge about the sequence, you require, education. You require education. Education is the cure to all of this. Specifically, logical and linguistic education, which ironically are the two subjects that were removed from our educational system, which is why you have confusion, which is why you lost the sequence, which is why you have mental illness. If you had linguistics and logic, you'd be able to identify the sequence. The sequence comes with algebra, but that is removed from algebra. So when you get the sequencing restored, it literally clicks everything back and you have the ability to comprehend. And then you can start to see the logic of where your own internal sequencing got obstructed. You can restore it and the whole thing clears itself up. So you want to go back to the origin of the problem. And the origin of the problem, or the parent of the problem, is one of two places. The first one is the initial question, what is love? And then the second is the order of operations, which is the sequencing. Once you have those two things in place, the whole thing locks back into place and it fixes itself, and then it restores itself. And it's a matter of reorganizing your entire logical framework in the correct sequence and then removing the parts that aren't true. So you have to clean your logic. Literally, you have to clean your logic. When you clean your logic, the more you clean your logic, the more the sequencing is restored, corrected, the more everything aligns beautifully, and then your life journey is restored. I have been talking all morning with a number of people, trying to figure out the best way to deliver this, the best way to get it to people. And we have officials, we have scientists who will want to dissect it, and then we have the common man. Now, because of the severity of resource partitioning, the officials are uninterested without profit. If there is no profit in this for themselves, they don't care. And they literally have to make more money than they are currently making on your disease in order to care about it. They make more money off of you being sick, so they're not interested. The scientists have an order of operations that you have to follow in order to get to them, but here's the problem. This science doesn't exist yet. So there's no protocol, there's no scientist, there's no anything. This is literally the conglomerate of all knowledge. It's Asha. So because there is no one field, this is where it gets highly complicated, because it's not just math, it's all of them. It's the best word that we could call this is interdisciplinary study, but interdisciplinary study means you've got 2, maybe 3 subjects. This isn't it. This is all 18 subjects, all integrated. This is integration science. I do believe we have found the science, integration science. Integration science is the be-all, end-all of the life journey. It is logic. And there is no logic science. And because there's no logic science, I don't have any peers. I don't have anyone I can go to. And the majority of scientists actually do not study logic. It is so absent from mathematics that in the 19th century, mathematicians realized that there was no logic in mathematics, and they had to put it into math with the mathematical crisis. They did that, and they reinvented logic called mathematical logic, which is the same thing as logic. But algebra is still missing from algebra, which is the sequence. When you have education or knowledge, we all learn everything is done with the sequence. So when you learn, you have to follow the sequence. When you build a relationship, you have to follow the sequence. When you have children, you have to grow them in the right sequence. So this sequence affects 100% of everybody on the planet. Now, it is ingrained into us naturally, except we officially have so much interference that no longer can we feel the natural sequence. So the unnatural has officially over-interfered to the point where we lost it. When we lost it, we lost the origin, which severed us from the parent. And as a result, parents became dependents. When parents became dependents, now you've got a bunch of dependents. When you have a consumer, you have a dependent. So you can see where basically everybody's lost. And it's the entire process of getting everyone back to the origin, getting the sequence restored. That's what I'm doing. I am trying to figure out the correct order of operations of restoring this with the most simplest of formats so that everybody understands it. It's simple, it's easy, and it's also understandable. So the origin must be restored, which is knowledge about the life journey and the sequence. In addition to that, the priority and the severity must be communicated. That has been the biggest problem is, you know, when the submarine is sinking and the red light is flashing, yeah, you're past that point. That is the severity of this. We are looking at mass extinction if this continues. And I mean, we're on the fulcrum. We're on the fulcrum. So the severity of the situation is really, really dire, that people understand how severe it is. Like, you should have learned this a year ago to prevent this problem. We're on the fulcrum. So the other problem is the knowledge itself. And then there's the priority and the severity of the situation. And then there is the, okay, now what do we need to do? And what you need to do is literally study logic. Now, we already have a solution for you for that. It's called Read the Book Sophie's World. Sophie's World literally integrates logic into you while you are reading the book. So you don't have to study logic. The book does it for you. It's a storybook. So read Sophie's World. Study music theory, and then you're going to need some basic physics. And I created something called Mathematics Demystified. Mathematics Demystified is like a 1-hour course, and it literally puts the right sequencing into mathematics that corrects your ability to see the sequencing so you can understand it. Now, in addition to that, you need to know about the life journey, and you need to know about something in algebra called the predecessor and the successor, which is the independent and the dependent. Once you understand those two things, you'll be set. Sophie's World, music theory, physics, math, demystified. Now, in addition to that, you'll also have, let me go ahead and put all this down here. In addition to that, we also have, I've got tons of space. Okay. Let me just put this all here. So we're going to go ahead and just do this right here. Sophie's World by Justine Gardner. This will teach you logic right away. You will need music theory, and I recommend Walter Piston. And then you will need basic physics, like high school physics. It's very simple. You will need my course, Mathematics Demystified, with triadic healing. And then I have my book Broken, and I have my book Breaking Delusion. And then I have Theory of Love and Salmon of Knowledge. This is basically an educational plugin. It's a triadic healing educational plugin that literally corrects everything you're missing. Now, the more you go through this, the more it's going to correct. The more it corrects, everything will like fall into place. It's beautiful. Now, I also have to create 2 courses that are not yet made yet, called The Life Journey. And you're also going to want the first story. So the first story, and that's going to be Mythos. So you're going to need Mythos, which is already written. And then there's the Life Journey. And then there's the predecessor and successor. And that's going to be in relative to the independent and the dependent. So we have 1, 2, let me just put this together. Basically, it's a mental health course. Really, it's a mental health course. And I want to add Not nice. Yeah, I'm going to add my reading list here. So in addition to the reading list, we have Not Nice by Dr. Aziz Gazapura. And we have, yeah, and this will be for severe trauma recovery. So I'm going to add this for severe trauma recovery. So if you're just looking for the basic, there you go. But if you need severe trauma recovery, you're going to want the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Dr. Nathaniel Branden. You're going to want Dr. Aziz Gazapura's Not Nice. You're going to want Rejection Proof by, yeah, I cannot pronounce that man's name. I will not try. And then you will want 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. Okay, and that's by Stephen Covey. And it's not ethics, it's truth. Stephen Covey was wrong. We prove that. That's not up for debate. All right, so there you go. So 12, 13, 14, and then 15. So there it is right there. This is it right here. This is Triadic Healing's educational plugin for the Radical Global Healing Plan. Now, this is what I refer to as the bare essential. This would literally be the very, very basics. That's it right there. That's the bare minimum. Now, in addition to that, let me go over to my, in addition to that, we have more in depth. So if you want to just give me the basics, there you go. If you want to get really in depth to it, you can dive really deep into it. You literally choose your own level. But if you choose the wrong level for your need, it's not going to scratch the surface. And let me see here. This is all under the healing stones. This is what we have for my recommended reading list. That's what this is under. And that's located at honnesthealinggarden.org. So I also have the great books. I have assignments here. And it has been very, very difficult trying to summarize everything. The sequence is everything. It is literally the 12-part sequence. It's learning how to organize your life. That's really it. It's life organization. And it's understanding what life organization is, understanding the importance of life. It's almost a feeling of all of fear comes from not knowing. It's just not knowing. And when you feel the fear, it activates a safety precaution, usually amnesia. Confusion scares a subconscious mind. Confusion scares a subconscious mind. When the subconscious mind feels confusion, it becomes afraid. And it triggers self-preservation. And the subconscious mind's immediate conclusion is, you're confused, forget that. And so you have amnesia. And that begins this real nasty chain of events of fear, confusion, amnesia. More fear, more confusion, more amnesia. And it begins the forgetting process. Fear, confusion, amnesia. The fear, confusion, amnesia cycle, and this is it right here, is the fear, confusion, amnesia cycle triggers a loss of logic, language, comprehension. And when it triggers the loss of logic, language, and comprehension, it continues the fear, confusion, amnesia cycle, worsening the logic, language, and comprehension until mental illness is prevalent. And it's just over and over again. Fear, confusion, amnesia cycle. And then logic, language, and comprehension go away while the fear, confusion, amnesia continues. And then you have mental illness. Mental illness shows up literally in severity and in relativity to the order of your sequence. It's highly predictable. After the mental illness is prevalent, then, well, you basically stop learning. And when you stop learning, you lose epiphany, which washes the brain, which is what controls cell regulation, which then leads to cell apoptosis, which leads to disease. All of them, which leads to death. The suppression of emotions, frequency, and learning is a container of suppressed physics, which ages the body. Kind of like trying to hold nuclear energy inside a vessel. Exactly. Like trying to hold nuclear energy inside a vessel that is not built to hold such power. That's why you have death, energy, disease, mental illness. That's a nice little 2-paragraph summation of why we're all dying. The fear and confusion amnesia cycle triggers a loss of logic, language, comprehension until mental illness is prevalent. Until, well, communication and understanding are so deteriorated that mental illness is prevalent. The individual stops learning. You lose epiphany, which washes the brain, which is what controls cell regulation, which then leads to cell apoptosis, which leads to disease, all of them, which leads to death. The suppression of emotions, frequency, and learning is a container of suppressed physics, which ages the body. Exactly like trying to hold nuclear energy inside a vessel that is not built to hold such power. So that is the summation of all of my work. That is it. That is it exactly. Which means in order to solve it, you have to reverse the process, which is not difficult to do. Literally, in order to reverse this or to solve it, you need to understand. The only way you can understand . is through logical and linguistic comprehension, sequencing, and education. Or training, so you can restore the logical sequence in your mind. So the cycle, fear, confusion, amnesia, you need to reverse the fear, confusion, and amnesia cycle with knowledge, well, education. It's going to go education, understanding, and then your system remembers. It literally reverses the process. That is how I cured all of my mental illness, is I reversed the fear, confusion, amnesia cycle with education, understanding, and remembering. And that's it. You must have no resistance. And the 12 ethics guide the process. You need to literally pursue knowledge, which is truth. You also need to purge all lies by telling the truth. And you also need to correct all logical fallacy with logical truth. Lying is killing you. So that's it. That's all of it. And it really comes down to the knowledge. That would be the knowledge. What I just wrote out is the knowledge and the solution. The severity is the concern that I have, is because people are oblivious to the severity of it. And that's where there needs to be like this full, you need to understand how bad this is. And I have said it so many times. I have spoken to, I have a group of people, and we are all very aware of the math, the statistics, all of the variables. We have all of the variables in place, and every single one of us is scared because, yes, the earth is going to restore herself. Humans are probably going to be extinct, but the earth will restore herself. We are looking at human extinction, and we are on the fulcrum. And the reason why is because all of our problems are a symptom of mental illness, all of them. The reason why resources are a problem is because we're mentally ill, because we've lost comprehension. It's just a lack of comprehension. And the symptoms, the signs, the breakdown is apparent. We are at the final stages of absolute communication breakdown and comprehension breakdown. So much so that the majority of people on the planet are not scared. That's how bad it is. And trying to educate people who are indifferent to it is the biggest sign of how bad it is, because people are so ignorant that they're not scared. And that's the problem. The people who are educated enough to do the math are going, we're going extinct. We are looking at extinction. There's this attitude of, oh, well, everything will be fine. Mother Nature will work itself out. We are not special. We are not an exception from the dinosaurs. And the majority of the people on the planet are too uneducated to do anything about this. And we are looking at cannibalism. We are looking at vast plague and disease. And no matter how smart or educated or zen you are, that's going to affect you and you will not survive. Because the majority of people on the planet are the people who give you your food, farm your food, and make sure you have what you need. And it's going to start with the foundationals, and it's going to spread, and it's going to reach everybody. And we are on the fulcrum. And not enough people are scared, not enough people are concerned. And that's the problem. So it's literally educating with knowledge, getting people the right understanding of what needs to be done, which is on the video description. I just wrote it all down. And it's literally we need a societal plugin, which I built, which is here, which is this, where you step in and you learn linguistics and you learn logic and you learn it fast. Now, logic is easy. It's literally one book, Sophie's World. As you read the book, it integrates logic into your mind. It's extraordinary. When you partner it up with music theory, you're going to have to study. It's going to turn on your brain. The society is going to divide into two people. You're going to have people who learn and educate, and you're going to have people who don't. The people who don't, there's nothing that can be done for them. The people who do learn, we just need to hope that the majority of people learn. Because the people who do learn, once this is activated, we're going to need to turn you into resource generators. Resource generators are people who have the origin, they have their parent, and they have their sequence aligned so they can become independent self-authorities, so they can literally have their own business. So we need to get you up and running with your own business. As far as the funding goes, we have it taken care of. But we're only giving it out to nonprofits. We're only giving it out to people who complete Traumatic Healing Part 1 and 2. And we're also working on a program where we are embedding it into society. And we're going to have that going. But it's not a handout. You're going to have to turn your brain on and get your brain working and learning again. And it's the problem with handouts is it actually disables the entire process, and it enables the disintegration process. And that's the concern. We cannot enable the disintegration process. The only solution is you learn. So we have it in place. We have it all set up and prepared. And this is what we are working with in the group behind me. I have Concentric Industries. I have World System Solutions, and we've collaborated, and we've built a healing engine, and we're in the process of going forward with it. And we are collaborating our resources. I am going to be reverse engineering linguistics, and I can already see the patterns very, very clearly with all of those, and I'll be integrating them soon. So it's a very, very simple storyboard fashion about a 1-hour course that I'll be building where you just go through it and you'll have all of linguistics combined, and oh, this is linguistics. It'll be a very simplified, easy to understand process. Combine that with Sophie's World, you'll be set. Another way you can do it is my 4 Traumatic Healing book series. Those books integrate all of this into your system. It corrects all the logic. It puts it in the right sequence, and it solidifies. It's also in a storybook format. That way it's enjoyable. And we also have the storyboards, which are fun graphics, easily digested, very, very simple to walk you through some very basic things. The Traumatic Healing for storyboards, that is what is available there. So we have tons of resources for you. It's just a matter of communicating with you and getting it out there. I am in one of those days where I am processing a lot of new data and allowing the changes to take place that are taking place, making the shifts required to shift. It's pretty much out of our hands at this point, as in it's in your hands. And trying to get people to understand the severity that we are in, that if things do not change, we are looking at the extinction of the human race. And the only thing that's going to get us out of this is the right education regarding the life journey and sequencing. So I'm going to be doing a few courses on sequencing and breaking those down. Mathematics Demystified is a huge part where you can start that. I did it myself yesterday. I put it together, and as soon as I had it, it corrected all of mathematics in my brain. And I went, oh, no, there it is. So it's literally adding that plugin that you should have had when you were in school. So basically, if you look at it this way, if you struggled with math in school, it's because you were missing some basic foundational. That's what all of this is about, is you don't have the foundation. That's what all of this is about, is the loss of a foundation. And when you don't have the foundation in sequencing, it's a death sentence. For generations, we have not had the foundational. And I mean 2,000 years of not having the foundational. And when you take out the foundation of sequencing, it will not sustain itself. The foundation is the sustaining factor. It's the fountainhead of all of it. And we've been living without a fountainhead for too long. And now we're at a point where we're in the late stages of total societal collapse. You should be scared. And if you're not scared, you really should be scared. So to restore the foundation, you need the origin of human, which is nature, which is the life journey. The life journey is the origin called Plato's point. The disintegration process, the integration process, and the return to Plato's point. It is a process. And when you were going through your life journey, something disrupted it. So your processing was interrupted. That's the problem. Your processing for your life journey was disrupted. And when your processing was disrupted, everything was derailed. So it's a matter of restoring your processing back to where it's supposed to be, according to the Plato's point, according to the life journey, which is Plato's point, deconstruction, and then Plato's point again. Trying to figure out how to translate that, that's what I'm working on right now. Every parent needs to become aware of this. Every teacher needs to become aware of this. Every psychologist needs to become aware of this. Every leader needs to become aware of this. Every priest or pastor or religious leader needs to become aware of this. Every scientist needs to become aware of this. Everyone needs to become aware of this. Because for parents, you're going to want to preserve your child's life journey. For teachers, you're going to want to restore it and preserve it. Unfortunately, right now, almost 80% of what teachers are doing is destroying it. Psychologists need to dissect the entire life journey, learn the entire sequencing and the consequence, identify what ratio or what percentage of the journey it got disrupted, and then go back to the restoration process. Leaders need to conform everything around the preservation and the restoration of it. Priests and pastors need to basically take confessions because people need to purge truth. Purging lie is a big part of this to restore truth. That is a huge part of this. Because lie and truth are literally the disruption and the fluidity of your logical comprehension. Lies destroy your comprehension. The more lies you tell, the more comprehension gets disrupted. Scientists, well, they will study the hell out of my science work. And then they will go, oh my God, it can go here. Oh my God, it can go here. Oh my God, it can do this. Yeah, it's the cure of all. So you personally, I posted down below or on the video description the Triadic Healing Educational plugin for the Radical Global Healing Plan. It is a 15-step process that goes through it. And I'm going to throw on here one more thing for the Uber No Stone Unturned. Yeah, it's for the No Stone Unturned Triadic Healing. You're going to want Triadic Healing Part 1 and 2. Triadic Healing Part 1 and Triadic Healing Part 2. That's pretty much it right there. That is it right there. I use my channel here as a means to update, keep notes, track, archive, chronicle my journey through this information and knowledge. And today is a very low, quiet observation day for me while I process, integrate, and just sit back and just evaluate everything. So it takes about 3 days for normalization to occur. So I'll be back to I've changed. So I'm not sure where I'm going to be in 2 days, but I have a lot of thinking to do. So thank you so much. And may the truth always find you.